All right, welcome. We're diving into curriculum development models, and this is specifically for you, the people who are going to be shaping the future of physical therapy education. So here's our game plan. We're going to unpack the actual blueprints for building a top-tier DPT program. And we're taking what I like to call a destination-first approach. We'll start with the modern gold standard, which is outcome-based education. Then we'll kind of hit rewind and look at the foundational models that got us here. And we'll wrap up by giving you a full modern toolkit to work with.
Okay, let's just jump right in. We're going to start with probably the most important question you'll ever face as an educator.
And look, this is not just some academic exercise, right? This is a huge challenge. The answer to this question literally determines the competence and the confidence of every single therapist who comes out of your program. You're basically shaping the future of our entire profession. A really powerful answer to that big question comes from a model that just completely flips traditional curriculum planning right on its head. It's called outcome-based education, or you'll hear it called OBE. So here's the most important thing to get about OBE. It is not about what we as instructors plan to teach. It's all about what our students can actually demonstrably do because of our teaching. The whole focus shifts from the process to the performance. And the engine that drives this whole thing, it's a pretty simple idea called backward design. Instead of asking, okay, what am I going to teach on day one? You ask, what does my graduate absolutely have to be able to do on their first day in the clinic? You define that destination first, and then every single course, every lab, every lecture is just a step on the map to get them there. And this is where you can really see the power of this model. You don't just teach a neuroanatomy course because it's on some list. No. Instead, every single piece of the puzzle, the lectures, the labs, the clinicals, it's all designed with one goal in mind: achieve that specific outcome, like making sure your graduates can confidently manage a stroke patient. Everything has a purpose. All right, so now that we know our destination is OB, let's take a look at the foundational models that came before it. Understanding where we came from really helps us appreciate where we are now. Now, what's really fascinating here is the totally different perspective. Think of it this way. Tyler's model is like an architect designing a skyscraper from the top down. It all starts with a big overall purpose. But Taba's model, that's more like a gardener cultivating a garden from the ground up, starting with what the individual plants, our students, actually need. And this image here captures Taba's whole philosophy perfectly. It's not a straight line, not a one-and-done kind of thing. It's a living, breathing cycle where the teachers are constantly diagnosing needs, creating objectives, checking the results, and then refining the whole process based on what's actually happening in the classroom. This table does a fantastic job of breaking down their philosophies in a DPT context. Just look at the starting point. Tyler's approach is driven by the institution saying, here's our objective. Taba's is driven by the teacher on the ground saying, here's what my students need. They might both end up with a great stroke rehab module, but the power and the autonomy that Taba gives to the educator is just fundamentally different. Okay, so beyond those two foundational models, your curriculum design toolkit has a few other modern approaches, and each one has a specific job, and they can all be mixed and matched into a bigger framework. First up, we've got the most traditional approach, the one most of us are probably familiar with. This is the subject-centered model. You can think of it as the silo approach. It treats subjects like anatomy and physiology as their own separate things. The idea is to build a really deep, solid foundation in each area, but the big challenge, it pretty much leaves it up to the student to try and connect all those dots on their own. All right, next, let's talk about an approach that is all about mastery. This is the competency-based model, and it completely shifts the focus from seat time to proven skill. With this model, your progress isn't tied to a calendar. A student only moves on when they can prove, demonstrably, that they've mastered a skill, like performing a gait analysis. It's all about what you can do, not how long you've been studying it. So how do we fix that silo problem we were just talking about? Well, that brings us to a model designed to break down those barriers. And that's where the integrated model comes in. It's built specifically to tear down those walls between subjects. As you can see, it's all about tackling a clinical problem by pulling in all the relevant knowledge at once. Because, let's be real, in the real world, a patient's problem is never just an anatomy problem. This model teaches students to think like actual clinicians. And finally, a model that's built for how we actually work today, as a team. The interprofessional model is based on a really simple but absolutely critical truth. Modern healthcare is a team sport. Period. This approach gets students from different fields, PT, OT, nursing, in the same room to learn with each other and from each other. It's so important for building the collaborative skills they're going to need in the clinic. Okay, so we've got all these models, all these different approaches. What do you do with them all? As a curriculum designer, how do you actually build something that is truly effective?
And here's the secret. It's not about choosing just one model. The best, most sophisticated curricula are a strategic blend. You use the right tools for the right jobs, and you organize it all under one clear, guiding framework. And for that, OBE is perfect.
And that right there, that's really the big takeaway. You use OBE as your North Star, your final destination, the practice-ready therapist. And then you use these powerful tools like integrated case studies and competency-based skill checks to build the actual path that gets your students there. So it all comes back to this. When it's your turn to design the future, where will you begin? Will it be with the institution's goals, the teacher's insights, or will you start with that final, desired outcome for your students? Knowing these models gives you the power to make that choice on purpose and to make sure that the next generation of therapists you train is the most capable we have ever seen.